Hey everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Trees, the show that's dedicated to the strange and paranormal. I'm your host Peyton, and today we're going to be hopping into the subject of the boogeyman. Let's get it. All right, so today I wanted to talk about the boogeyman and its strange connection to Sasquatch. A lot of people in the South call them boogers, and I always found that fascinating because I've heard stories of people saying that they're like the boogeyman. And I know a lot of old folklore called them boogeyman, wild man, men of the woods, different things like that. And so I kind of wanted to look at the connections today and just see if they parallel and what we can find. The boogeyman is one of the most universal and enigmatic figures in folklore, spanning cultures across the world while often used as a vague threat to scare children into good behavior. The legend has deep roots in both psychological fears and potential cryptid or supernatural entities. Interestingly, some theories connect the boogeyman to creatures like Sasquatch, particularly in indigenous and regional folklore. Origins and folklore of the boogeyman. The boogeyman takes many forms across different cultures, but the core idea remains the same: a shadowy, elusive figure that preys on disobedient children or those who stray too far from safety. The name itself comes from the Middle English bogue or bug, meaning a goblin or hobgoblin, which also gave rise to the word bugbear, a monster used to frighten children. Now, the word bogue or bug also has a English derision of Bugart, which we all know from Harry Potter are the creatures that transform into whatever we fear the most. Possible connections between the boogeyman and Sasquatch. While Sasquatch and the boogeyman seem like separate figures, there are some interesting connections in folklore that suggest they might be related, or at least that Sasquatch has been interpreted as a boogeyman like figure in subcultures. Indigenous legends of the wild man. Many Native American tribes have stories of giant hairy creatures living in the wilderness, often depicted as both guardians and threats, some of these being share characteristics with the boogeyman. The Stick Indians, Salish, and interior tribes, mysterious shadowy beings that whistle to lure people into the woods. The Wendigo in, I'm going to butcher this, Algonquin mythology, is a tall, emaciated creature that kidnaps and eats humans. I'm also going to butcher this. Sietko and Dunaqua, Pacific Northwest tribes, a wild, dark, hairy giant that steals children and takes them into the forest. Now, there are countless stories of women and children being taken by Sasquatch, and I do find that to be very strange how they're both pretty similar in that aspect. But let's keep reading. Some researchers believe that early sightings of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, may have contributed to boogeyman legends in North America. Sasquatch as the wilderness boogeyman. In regions like the Pacific Northwest, Appalachia, and even parts of Canada, Bigfoot has been seen as a creature that lurks in the shadows, scaring campers, hikers, and children who wander too far into the woods. Some stories describe Sasquatch as a protector of nature who punishes those who disrespect the land, similar to some versions of the boogeyman. Certain encounters with Sasquatch involve people experiencing extreme fear or a sense of being watched, which could tie to the boogeyman's reputation as a fear inducing entity. Paranormal theories: Sasquatch as an interdimensional being. Some believe that Sasquatch is not just a physical creature, but one that exists between dimensions, appearing and disappearing at will, similar to how the boogeyman vanishes into darkness. People who claim to have encountered Sasquatch often report feelings of sudden dread, unexplained noises, or missing time, all of which align with classic boogeyman encounters. Are they the same entity? It is unlikely that the boogeyman and Sasquatch are exactly the same, but folklore suggests there's overlap in the ways these entities are perceived. The boogeyman thrives in shadow, while Sasquatch is often associated with the deep wilderness, but both are elusive, fear inducing figures that have been used to keep people, especially children, from venturing into dangerous or unknown places. Key differences: the boogeyman. More of a spiritual or metaphysical entity, often depicted as a shadowy figure or monster, tied to fear, nightmares, and childlike and children's behavior, found in urban legends and across cultures. Now on to Sasquatch. Sasquatch, believed to be a physical, biological creature, described as large, hairy humanoid, tied to wilderness, primal instincts, and mystery, found primarily in North America and indigenous folklore. Now, as I've made tons of videos on this, that is clearly not true. There are Sasquatches all over the United States, from Oklahoma to Texas to Arkansas to Missouri to Idaho. Literally does not matter. They are everywhere. They're on every continent. They are on every piece of land, aside from Hawaii, it seems. But other than that, they are pretty much everywhere, from Russia to America to Canada to Europe in some places. So I don't agree with that last part, but the rest of it is pretty accurate. Conclusion: the boogeyman is a deeply ingrained figure in human consciousness, representing the fear of the unknown, the dark, and the supernatural. While Sasquatch is typically seen as a cryptid rather than a purely supernatural being, their stories often serve as the same purpose, keeping people cautious of the unknown, especially in the wilderness. Whether the boogeyman is a shadowy specter, a cautionary tale, or an actual being that lurks beyond human understanding, his legend continues to evolve, much like that of Sasquatch. All right, everybody, that's it for today's show. Remember, if you've had an encounter of any kind and would like your story told or read, shoot me an email. My email address is beyondthetrees95@gmail.com. See y'all.